gonna take a video of these two because there's a reason I have a hard time getting started podcasting. I apologize if you can hear the dogs. They are right by the microphone. We're gonna try this. You really want to be in here. Hello and welcome to The Knitted Bean. I am Echo and I will be your host today. The Knitted Bean is a nitty, nerdy, and sometimes sweary podcast with a side order of fandom towards the end. If you want to skip that, that's totally fine. If not, I will be glad to have you there as well. Now they're convinced. They heard the intro. Oh, it's real. We're gonna podcast. We better sit down. I'm coming to you from Montana, where I live with my husband and my two Boston Terriers, who are my little podcast co-pilots when they can behave well enough to stay in the room. Which it looks like they're actually going to do today. I'm going to try a few new things. Usually I have my laptop off to the side and I read my notes off of there, but it's early and I really didn't feel like dragging it in, so I'm going to try reading my notes off of my phone. We'll see how that goes. And we'll go from there. So I want to say hello to any new viewers who have come to visit me and welcome you and say I hope that you stay with me for this fun, loving ride. You are just getting unfiltered Echo on the internet. I am a nerd. I love to knit. I love dogs. I'm disabled. That's my life. And then welcome back as well to any of my regular viewers. I truly, truly appreciate you and I am glad that you've stuck around with me. And as a way of saying thank you, I am approaching 100 viewers, and I had said many episodes ago, way back when I would fumble my way through every recording, that if I hit 100, I would do a giveaway. So I have collected all the things that I want to do for the giveaway, and I will talk about that a little bit later. So if we do hit 100, which I think I might after this episode, cross your fingers and spread the word, I will definitely show those off, and if we hit that, then we will be giving that away in probably the next episode or whenever we reach that goal. I think it's a nice little prize package that you will all enjoy. So more on that later. Other than that, the last 2 weeks, I hesitate to say, because it's Montana and the weather is psychotic, but I think that we have arrived at fall. 1 second, Granny's licking her paws. She thinks she's so innocent about it. She knows better. Good night, Granny. No licking. Lay down. Go lay down. Granny just lost her bed to the Uggs. But she's not licking her paws anymore, so that's a start. Anyway, as I was saying, I think the fall may have started to arrive, at least. We're not like solidly into it, but I mean, I'm wearing a knit. It's in the 60s outside, so it's still almost a little bit warm for the knit. For me, coming from Montana, where it ranges between 104 and -24. But like when you first get up in the morning, it's a little chilly, and then by midday it's warm. So it's getting here, and I'm looking forward to it. I have been in full sweater knitting mojo season, so It's been anywhere between the 60s and the 80s, which I feel is like 16 to 26 in Celsius, but I could be totally wrong because I mostly have those numbers memorized from having friends from around the world, and I don't actually really know the conversion. So if I'm wrong, feel free to tell me. Today's mug I have had for well over 2 decades. It is just a black mug that's blackboard with a green rim, and I can write whatever I want on it. And I wrote, fuck it, let's podcast, because it's early and I don't usually record this early. In fact, I'm not usually up this early, but I have a family member, an in-law coming over in probably about an hour, and I didn't want to record and try and edit on the same day. So it's either do this now or do this after she comes over. And I might be really tired after she comes over, just because, for one, you know, I think Hannah from Corner of Craft calls it her social battery. I think my social battery will be really low. And for two, just it's kind of exhausting for me to like have company, because there's that expectation that I will like get up and interact. So get up out of my chair and get them a pop or a glass of water or whatever. Or, you know, like they'll bring lunch and, oh, get up and come eat lunch and this. And I really normally am not doing that level of up and down activity, because I'm literally not really capable of it. And so if I'm going to be doing up and down for 4 hours a day, I need to really plan that, because I'm not going to be able to do anything else for the day. So this is me planning it. I'm going to do this now, have that, and then I'll probably crash out for the rest of the day. So in my mug is my favorite tea company. I saved a little card out of this shipment so that I could show you all. This is Lake Missoula Tea Company. They always give you like a nice little handwritten note on the back, and it's like a genuinely handwritten note. Like it talks about the current weather or whatever holidays are going on, or like they really are a great local company. They're amazing. The tea that I'm drinking today is one of my favorites. It's called Sticky Rice Puree. And I might be pronouncing that last one wrong. It might be I don't really know. And I didn't pop on voice chat with anybody from that side of the world to find out. But it's like a bricked tea. So it's pressed into a brick. I'll try and insert a picture because the wrapping is really cute. It's like a little pink wrapping. It comes in a little brown brick, and you make the tea and it just unfolds. Not like a flowering tea, but it just like expands. And it's meant to be like, it's a good oversteeped or like a builder's tea. I have a little bit of honey and almond milk in this, and it's like a great coffee replacement. I'm sure it has a ton of caffeine in it compared to like a green tea, because it's a black tea. Anyway, it's great. Love it. It's wonderful. I got a shipment from them like a week ago, and I have been plowing through it. They sent me a sample. They always send a sample. They sent me a sample of a cinnamon roll tea, and you guys, I need to order a bag of that. It was so good. I was expecting, because you know flavored teas can be, I was expecting it to be like, ooh, I'm eating a cinnamon cone from the entryway to the market. You know, you walk in the holidays and it's like, let's set off your asthma with the cinnamon pine cones. But it wasn't. Like, it just barely had like a little of cinnamon in it, and it had like cocoa nibs and all these other things that just, it literally tasted like you had taken a cinnamon roll and dunked it in your tea, and that was what was left. It was so good. I'm gonna order more of that. I will, as always, drop the link for these guys and anything else that I talk about down below, because I think everybody should order from Lake Missoula Tea. I tell people all the time this. I am unabashedly a giant fan. Moving along. If you are looking for me on the internet, you will find me on Ravelry as The Knitted Bean, on Instagram as The Knitted Bean, and you can email me at knittedbean@gmail.com. I think that's it for like quick like catch up stuff. You are gonna get removed. Stop licking. Doggies are gonna get removed here shortly because somebody can't just sleep despite how much she really just wants to sleep. She also just really is licky today. Okay, that's enough. Say hi. Poop. Granny. It's a little bit of doggy dementia. Hence the paw licking. I think she's gonna have to go out. Oh. Yep, she's headed for the door. We'll be right back. Luggable Booger can stay though. Come lay down. Come here. She's being good. So back to what I am wearing. This is my Fog and Whisper by Vervella Mackey. I always called it my London Fog or London Smog because of the colors that I chose to put in it. It is made entirely of Illimani Ecolama, and the like shawl collar band is made out of Plies and Hellhounds Fig Lace, which is their mohair. I'll stand up and give you a little show. Boop boop. That's quite the wingspan. So this is just a A-line, I guess you would call it, fitted cardigan, open front. It's not meant to close, with what I lovingly refer to as the bat wings. And it's definitely warm, like touch warm for this time of year, but I was a little cold when I got up this morning and I wanted to wear something for the podcast, so I love it. It is decadently soft. I did worry a little bit about making a cardigan in alpaca because it is so can be so stretchy. I made a size smaller than what I needed. I made a 2X, which in Vervella Mackey stuff is smaller than what I need, even though a lot of times I do make a 2X, and let it stretch because the alpaca doesn't have a lot of memory. It's not going to back up. So this is kind of its stretched form. So I see a lot of people who are like, oh, you shouldn't make a sweater or a cardigan or a garment out of alpaca or llama or whatever because it's so stretchy. I am of the camp that you can. You just really need to plan. You need to know about like the characteristics of the fabric that you're choosing to knit, and then you need to plan for that. If it's gonna stretch and not have memory to come back, you need to, is it gonna stretch just one way? Is it gonna stretch all the ways? Do you need to knit it shorter so that it can stretch for length? Do you just need to overall knit it in a smaller size so that it can stretch everywhere? What do you need to do to make it so that once it has been either blocked or worn a bit and achieved its final length, size, whatever, that is the size that you were planning on getting it. Don't knit it to be the size that is perfect when it comes right off the needles. Knit it to be the size that is perfect once it's been worn for a while. That's my motto because I love alpaca and I love llama, so I think Lex is gonna try and jump on the window. No, she just decided to sit. We have really wide window sills, like 4-inch wide. Trust me, my Boston Terrier's butt is wider than 4 inches, but she's gonna give it a go. So, I think that's about it. Let's move on to FOs. I have one FO. These are, you might have seen these on my Instagram. these are the Goblin King colorway, which was a labyrinth themed self-striping surprise box from Geektastic Fibers. And Amanda over at Geektastic Fibers does occasionally or monthly these, like, oh, this is the theme and I'm gonna do a mystery self-striping yarn and a mini that comes with it, and a progress keeper that comes with it. And so I've gotten a couple. I've gotten Firefly, I've gotten Labyrinth. There's a few others that I've been like, ooh, that might be fun, but it's not like super duper my fandom. But I definitely, if you see a fandom that you like, highly recommend those. I've never been disappointed. The progress keeper that came with this one is in my Firefly notes. This is a little notions tin, and then the back of it is, or the bottom I guess, is magnetic. This was one of the things that I got asked a question about, like, what is my favorite notion? This is definitely one of my favorite notions, and somebody had asked me to show it. So the progress keeper that came with that was a little crystal ball for the Goblin King. I made these socks a bit longer than I normally would just because I was having so much fun knitting the self-striping, and it was just vanilla, and it hit that vanilla spot for me for Knitflix. I did do some might call it an afterthought heel, but some may also call it like a forethought or a peasant heel, where I knit a piece of waste yarn in where the heel was going to be, and then I came back and removed that waste yarn, picked up the stitches, removed that waste yarn, and knit a heel there. I did do one little round of short rows right there to make the heel just a little bit deeper. These are for my writing partner in Germany, but I do a short row heel for them all the time, so I don't know that I needed to do a gusset. I just mostly wanted to try it out. So these are ready to go off to Germany, and they are just, they're scrumptious. I love them. I like how easy it was to line up everything, including the heels, so that they matched. And I just really, it's a 75-25, and I really like the base a lot. I think I'm going to make a sock monkey with the leftovers. I haven't weighed it, but I have, I mean, it's not a small amount. I would say maybe 30, 40 grams, 35 grams left over. That seems like enough to do a sock monkey body, and then his little lips. So that's my plan for those leftovers. The cuff, I did a 3x1 for like 5 rounds, and then a 1x1 for like 5 rounds, and then bound off with super stretchy bind off. I did my typical wedge toe, and as always, these are toe up on 9-inch circular size 0, because unless it's color work, that's what I do, that's how I roll. I still have 2 more pairs of half-finished socks on the needles, or not on the needles because I haven't started the second one. My green socks from August, Farmer's Daughter Club, that are a yak sock that are my own design, and then the Kraken socks that are color work that are my own design that are also super fun. And it's not that I don't want to like finish them or won't. I just had like a super sweater nitty bug and took a couple of weeks off. So you'll probably see those on the next episode. So that's my only FO. So moving into whips, I have like 1.1 whips. So I have one solid whip and one that's like a swatch, but I can't wait to start it. So I swatched for it already. Oh, I fogged up my glasses there. Okay, so my first whip is my Charcy sweater, just living in my knotty knitting sacks that you've all seen a million times. It's the fucking bunnies bag. I have basically just loads of purple scraps in here. Just loads and loads and loads. I can definitely fold the sweater up and still fit it in there, but it's a tight fit. This is an all over slip stitch type pattern that kind of like builds a little bit thicker of a fabric, even though it's like fingering slash sport weight. And I would say I am half to a third way, a third to a half the way through. You know, it's really early. I used to be good at fractions. I'm not at this time. So I have knit the whole yoke. I have split for the sleeves, and I've actually started on one of the sleeves at this point. Because I would like to knit the sleeves, since I'm using scraps, I want to make sure that like I'm anal retentive. I want to make sure that I like make the sleeves striping-ish match. So like if I use like my bi yarn one round, I want to use it another round over here, and then my farmer's daughter, and then my purple Kathy from Dear Mina. So I'm doing it in like chunks of like a few inches so that I can keep track of which yarns are used where. I'm living dangerously at the moment because these are like, 12, 16, probably 16-inch circulars, interchangeable. And I have needle stoppers on the main body. I have like 3 other pairs of needle stoppers for small needles, and I could not find any of them this morning when I went to show this to you. So I'm living dangerously, and hopefully I don't drop a stitch that I have to pick up. So I've got about that much of a sleeve, a good 2 inches. Definitely through the first like large set of decreases there. And I have probably an inch of the body past the yoke. Overall though, I am just in love with all these yarns. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 scraps that are leftovers from socks or other projects that are fingering weight. And then I have this little bit is what's left that I'm working with on the sleeve right now. which is a Cumbria fingering sport weight. And it's really hard to see. Let's see if I can show you in a cake, because I do have another one caked up. But it's got like, there we go. It's got like different colors like dyed in the wool and woven in. So it's really adding to the dimension of it. So I'm super excited, and I've just been like knitting a lot on that, as well as the socks. And that's why I haven't gotten to the other two. So the Charcy is by Camille Decateau, and I am test knitting that for her even though it's already out. I am the last size that she was unable to find a test knitter for, so I've gone ahead and taken it up to test knit it just to make sure that it fits right, all of that, and that there are no, you know, off numbers or anything like that with my particular size. So far the pattern looks great. I did have one question where I had read all the way through the pattern at the beginning, and then as I was knitting, my head was like, well, I know how a sweater is constructed, and you do this, 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 and then you split for the sleeves. And I was like, this is gonna be too short for my 3X arm. And so I emailed her, and she was like, oh, but if you read in the pattern, there's this thing. And I was like, you know, I did read in the pattern. That does make sense. That is gonna make this the size that I would expect it to be, because I know exactly how big around my knitting needs to be for my arm measurement, if it's gonna be, you know, fitted or not fitted like this. And this sweater is a not crop, but like jeans waistline crop. So you know, you couldn't wear it with like low riding jeans without it being a crop, but if you wear it with like regular jeans or high-waisted jeans, it's either going to cover 4 inches of your jeans waist, or it's gonna hit right on. So it's what I would call like a short sweater rather than like a long sweater. Hey, no Nikki. With fitted arms all the way down. They taper in an all over slip stitch mosaic pattern. I really love mosaic knitting, even though it can be like a little overwhelming, especially like on a really big project. And I've noticed that it has like made my wrist hurt just a little bit. That I really feel though is because I have had both of my ulnas shortened and all of the ligaments taken out of my wrist. I had I don't know if you call it like a deformity. Almost like, I think it was called like Madelung's deformity. So my wrists were like this. And my elbows would like bend funny. So when I put them out straight, they would like, because those bones were too long by about 1 inch or a couple of centimeters. And I went through my whole life like thinking that that was normal and that everybody's elbows bent like that, even though people told me it was weird, because I had no problems and I had no pain until I was in my mid 20s and I was in massage therapy school, and I found that I could like no longer open a door, twist, or like hold a pop can. And I went in to see a hand surgeon thinking that I had like, you know, carpal tunnel or something. And they were like, oh no, you have like a giant TFCC tear and you have this whole deformity in your arm and we need to like do this stuff. So I have a plate in both arms with 6 or 7 screws and no ligaments in the little square bones in my wrists. So the fact that I knit like 8 hours a day and have no pain typically is I mean, I don't knit 8 hours straight, but like I'll knit for 2 hours and be off, knit for 2 hours and be off, is really impressive. So I think that it's just when I do that slip stitch, the way I do it, I tend to rock this wrist back and forth, and I think that kind of aggravates that. So that's my only thing with the pattern, and it's not anything with the pattern. It's more like an anatomy thing for me, where I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm on a lot of medications for arthritis anyway, so I'm just like, well, let's just live with it, because whatever. It's nothing that I'm not used to, sadly. So that is the Charcy sweater by Camille Decateau. I am in love with this thing. I stepped out of my box in that I do love purple, clearly, but I'm like, all the things should be brown or green right now, and this gave me a chance to just like take all of my purple sock scraps and just be like, boom. So it was a huge stash buster for me, and also just really fun and engaging, because like it's a repeat that I can memorize, but it's also like every row is new because it's variegated yarns, and we all buy those like single skeins of variegated yarns that we're like, oh, I'll make socks out of this because it's so pretty. And then we get a stash that's like, how many pairs of socks are we really gonna make? And you know, this is a sweater that I can take like 2 cool green variegated skeins and make a sweet sweater. So I can definitely see myself making this for, maybe for somebody else, as a present, like my little niece or somebody. It's really fun. So that's the Charcy sweater. That is whip number 1. Gonna run out of tea. Whip number 2 is for the Pryanex sweater by Sweater Freak. I don't really need to have 2 sweaters on the needles at the same time, because I also have 2 socks, 3 socks-ish on the needles pretty much at all times, and other small things. I have Christmas knits coming up that I'd like to do, but I've been dying to try this Queensland yarn, the Queensland's recycled tweed. So there we go. That is what it looks like straight on. Yes, you could probably see through it if you like held it up to the light, but not when it's on your skin. It's very drapey, which I like. So this is a sport weight yarn. The Pryanex sweater is meant to be in a DK weight, and is meant to be done on a size 6 needle. I tried to knit this and I was like, okay, well, this is sport weight, so I'll go down to a 5 because it's slightly smaller yarn, and I'll go down to a 5 and I'll maybe like go up a size. This on a 5 was like going to be a dishpan scrubby. I mean, it was like so tight, which I'm a really tight knitter. I should have known better. And so it was so tight that I was like, well, just screw that. We'll skip right over the 6, so we'll go to a 7. So this is on a 7. Smaller yarn than the pattern calls for, and 1 needle size up. It's been washed. It's been blocked. The yarn did bloom really well. And that's the gauge that I'm going to go for. This actually met gauge perfectly. Using a smaller yarn and larger needles. Because I'm a tight knitter, whatever. Not so tight that I gotta go like 2 needle sizes. Yeah. But I like to strangle my yarn, and I always have. So I swatched it, and I put my Charcy sweater on a fixed circular, like a 36 or 40 inch circular, because that's on a size 6, and I was using my, not the needles, but the cord, that I would probably knit this on. And then that way I freed up the cord so that I could, if I wanted to, start this, because I really want to. And it might, but we'll see. So this is in the Queensland tweed. The color is licorice. This is Queensland recycled tweed. Which is like 40% wool, 40% polyester, and 20% acrylic. It's totally washable, totally dryable. Well, okay, it says don't tumble dry. It says lay flat, but it says you could iron it. So I mean, I'm not really one to throw my sweaters in the washer anyway. But this has like 382 yards per 100 grams. So I look forward to this. This stuff is kind of, I won't say it's rough on your hands like cotton, but it sticks to your needles like cotton when you're knitting. And so that was part of when I tried to knit it on the 5, why my gauge was like strangling tight. And I'm knitting on metal needles because I thought that it would be one that stuck to my needles. So just a heads up, it doesn't feel bad in your hands at all. It's not like rough on them that way, but it just stick to the knee. It's real grippy. And it gets easier after the first few rows, but like that cast on row and that second row are really kind of like, oh, am I gonna like knitting this? Yeah, you'll like knitting it. It'll just take a hot minute. So that is my other work in progress that I shouldn't cast on, but I really want to. And I was like, well, I'll just swatch for it. That will like soothe that desire to cast it on right now. And then when I'm done with my charcy, I'll just be ready to go. I'll already know what size needles. My swatch will already be washed and black because, you know, when you finish one, you don't really want to like swatch it and then wait a day for it to dry, and you just want to go. So that is all I've got for whips. I have other things on the needles, but that's just what I've been obsessed with for the last 2 weeks. So those other things didn't really get much time. So for acquisitions, I have some gifts. And one thing I bought myself, and some things that I have for you guys. So, spoiler warning, I'm going to show the Farmer's Daughters Sock Squad September colorway. If you have not received that yet and you do not want it spoiled, look away now and I will tell you when you can look again. This is on the Highwood sock base. Boop, boop. And that is pretty accurate to color. Very autumnal, pumpkin orange, like bright leaf orange, yellow, and brown, speckled and variegated. This is called the Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I like it. It suits the mood for the season. So I feel like we have gotten a couple of things that have had a solid brown. We had one solid brown full skein, and I think this is the second one that had a brown mini skein. So I'm a little bit like, the brown seems to feature pretty heavily. But on the other hand, I feel like it suits this really well, so I'm not bothered by that. It's just something to note that, like, if brown is not your color, this might not be the sock for you. This is the Highwood sock, like I said, which is the 80/20. And something that I've noticed now that we are in the 3rd quarter, and I started to notice in the 2nd quarter, and I find really cool, is that if you look at the three bases, the bear paw sock, the highwood sock, and the Piltner sock, can never pronounce it. The dye style for each of the three bases is consistent. So all of the, let me show you. Okay, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I'm pretty certain. I should have looked. So these are the two yak sock, the bear paw. I'm pretty sure on this one, but I would have to go back and look. And then I have the third one, which is the solid green. So all of the bear paw are solids. These three are all of the Piltner. They are all a light white base with speckles. And it's a little harder to tell on this one because I'm using it for my these are all the highwood socks that I've gotten so far. And it, like I said, it's hard to tell on this one, but it is as well. They're all tonal variegated skeins. And the thing that I think is so cool about this is obviously the dyer, it has like a plan for their sock club from January to December, and thought ahead and was like, oh, hey, I'm gonna make it so that each of these bases like has a theme going on, including like the fact that all of the bases also match up to the season that they're in, which is awesome. But we always end up with these leftovers, right? I prefer shorty socks, which means that my socks often only take 35 grams. So I'm frequently left with anywhere from 60 to 70 grams, depending on if I did a full cuff, heel, and toe contrasting or not. Which leaves me with these huge quantities of leftover sock yarn. And like in this case, I'm putting the variegated one into this Charcy sweater, right? But what do you do with all those others? I think that when you have sock club that you're doing all year and it's planned out this way so that you're going to end up with 4 skeins that have the same dye style, there are 4 solids, 4 variegated, 4 speckles. That's awesome, because as soon as I noticed this trend, I had all those speckles and I was like, I think that I am gonna make like a rocket tee out of these. When the whole club is over, I'm gonna take all those speckles and I'm gonna, you know, make a rocket tee. Or Chevy Rell made like a cool V-back scoop front one that she used the mini skeins from a Halloween calendar, but I would love to do it in the speckles. And so I'm like, okay, that works well, because I have like 60, 70 grams of each of those, and I'm gonna have 4 of them. That's like 3.5 skeins. Even for me at a 3X, that's enough to make a tee out of. And so I can look at those and be like, well, from these leftovers, I can make a whole project and it's gonna match. And that's so cool to me. So, I just wanted to put that out because I thought that was just like, blew my mind. I thought that was neat. So that is acquisition number 1. I have no idea what pattern I'm going to use for those. I need to just hurry up and finish my cool as a cucumber ones that are like my self pattern or self design. But I want to finish my sweater first real quick. Lags. Quit licking, please. Hey, quit licking. Stop licking. Might have to send the last dog out of the room here. We are dog free. Hopefully there will be no more side noises. So then I bought your gift stuff. And while I was out doing that, I found something that I couldn't resist. Okay, so this is a DK called Melonberry. I'm hiding the berry. There we go. So this is a DK called Melonberry, and this is by Mountain Colors, which is one of the yarns that I really like. It's local to Montana, and it is a hand-painted yarn. Typically, I see it in blues, greens, purples, dark reds, and I just thought that this like coral with turquoise was like really stand out for them compared to their usual colors, and I really felt like it would make a good hat. So I bought that for myself. I could not resist. And then I got a package in the mail from a Fandom friend. Who goes by the name Plague. They had gone to a yarn shop on the East Coast and picked up a couple things that they said just reminded me of them. And so I got 2 skeins of, I think I just said that backwards. Picked up a couple things that reminded them of me. And so I got 2 skeins of Ella Ray Marmal, which is Old English for marble, according to the label. These are like a sport weight, 270-ish yards, 200 grams, and they are a cotton acrylic blend. So this is the kind of thing that I love because it's super soft, but also super freaking washable. So you literally can like throw this in the washer and the dryer and nothing bad will happen to it. So you can use it for all the gift knitting you want, for little kids or dog sweaters or things that are going to get messy and need to be washed. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of thinking shawl because it is very soft, but it also has that feeling like that this would be really light on the skin, like summer shawl, like kind of a lacy pattern that was kind of open. That would be like, you know, I burn really easy, so for me shawls in the summer are like keep me from sunburning. And I love that the blue one has tones of brown that are gonna match really well. And so I just feel like I can put those two together in like a 2-color shawl and it would look awesome. So that's kind of, smells like yarn. I love the smell of yarn. That's kind of what I'm thinking for those guys. Then they sent me something from their stash that they thought I would enjoy, and they're very bright, and I have no idea where they got this or when, but I love the idea of it. So this is called Two Footsies. And see that little crab there? Yeah, this yarn has crab chitin in it. I love like unique and interesting and fun fibers, and I'm just like looked at that and I was like, it's a chitin, and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. It is 50% superwash wool, 25% soy silk fibers, 22.5% cotton, and 2.5% chitin. Machine wash and dry. And then it says toe foot seas. Chitin is a fiber from shrimp and crab shells that is naturally antibacterial, so just like wool. And this is a limited edition power stripes. And it gives like a little, kind of shows what the stripes will look like there, but it's faded. You can tell it's been in stash for a bit. It's kind of hard to see, but I mean, you get that. It's going to be like pink and orange and like indigo blue. So yeah, these will definitely be socks. And I can't wait to like start knitting them up, even though I have a lot of sock like plans already, just because they have crab in them, and I think that's so cool. I mean, there's like all these products that we have that go to waste anyway, right? Like Americans are gonna eat pre-shelled crab from the freezer section, and what happens to those shells? And they're gonna eat pre-shelled shrimp from the freezer section, and what happens to those shells? And so if there's like a yarn company that's like, sure, I'll take those shells and I'll grind them up and I'll turn them into yarn with some soybean, I'm all for it. And I just find it really cool. And then also I find it really cool that like, I didn't know that chitin was naturally antibacterial. That's super cool. Also, it's kind of like got this marled effect. And I love marled yarn, so yeah, this was love that. So neat. I wonder how my timing's doing, if my in-law is gonna show up like, oh yeah, any moment. Okay, so then let's talk real quick about your stuff. So last I checked, we were at 84 viewers, and I'm hoping to hit 100 and do a giveaway. So the giveaway for me, I decided to base it on notions and of course yarn. Mountain colors in the traditional colors: green, purple, blue. This is a DK. It is called Periwinkle, and it's 85% merino wool, 15% mulberry silk, and it's 240 yards. From Montana, local hand-painted yarn. So you will get that, whoever wins. Everybody loves Katrinkles. I do, that's for sure. And my local yarn shop sells these little woodland creatures. And they're gonna be really hard for me to show because my wrist doesn't bend that way. Aforementioned wrist surgery. So we'll try it like this. So there are 4 little wooden tags or buttons or whatever you want to use them for or call them. A heart, a gnome, an owl, and a mushroom. There is a stitch fixer, which has a knitting needle end on one and a crochet hook on the other. It's great for picking up your stitches and knitting them if you have more than a few. A little package of soak wool wash in the fig scent. 2 stickers. One says bury me with my yarn, and both are absolutely on my scooter. And a Notion dish that I found and just loved. It says perfection is boring. That you can set all your little stitch markers and such in. And then a Notions bag. That pretty much describes, I think, most of us and our yarn shopping habits, which is that we are stuck somewhere between I need to save money and FOMO. It's a one-off yarn and we need it, right? Makes sense. So that is the price package that I have put together for the 100 subscriber giveaway. We only need 16 more subscribers to get there, and I am pretty sure that we can do that. So if you would like, subscribe, click the little bell so you get a notification when my videos go up, and share it around. The more people we get to subscribe, the faster that I pop on here and say, let's do a giveaway. And I'm really excited to be sending this stuff out too, because I just enjoy spreading the love and spreading the local. And all of these things were bought locally to me at either my local yarn shop or a local gift store that I love. And you'll probably get a little bit of tea in there too. So welcome back. So it is later in the day. Of course, my company did show up in the middle of recording. So now I'm going to try to finish recording the rest and wrap things up. Okay, so next up, I wanted to talk a little bit about just life stuff that has been going on in the last couple of weeks. Some of you may have seen on my Instagram that I did a GoFundMe in order to purchase a mobility scooter, which did arrive, and I have got it all kitted out with, I've put some stickers on it. I am looking to get some more so I can just completely cover it. And I need to get like a cool keychain for the key to go on. But other than that, I got it. I've used it a whole bunch. I've been taking the dogs for a walk in the evening with my husband, which is something I haven't been able to do in a year. And we went to the zoo and I rode around the zoo, which typically I have to rent a mobility cart there, hope that the battery is charged, hope that it's a mobility cart that is like suited to my body type, because I'm not a small girl, and a lot of the mobility carts that you get at, you know, a grocery store or a zoo or whatever public function, like a lot of times they have really skinny seats or they don't have a very high weight limit. They're just not, motor-wise, they're not suited to moving around that kind of weight. Oh, hello, Granny. So what I got was an e-wheels, and it's a I went with a 3-wheel because my balance wasn't good enough to do the 2-wheel after I tried it out. It has a seat that I can sit on, and I steer it. It's a front wheel drive. I will insert some video at the end of me riding it and a few pictures of me like at the zoo or walking the dogs, but it's just been really amazing to feel like I can get out of the house again. It fits in the back of my car. It does fold down, but it is kind of heavy. It weighs about 100 to 120 pounds, depending on if you have the seat and everything on it as well. So I can't pick it up and put it in my car, but my husband can. You know, there was a time 3 or 4 years ago when I would have had no problem putting that in my car, but I'm just not able to anymore. So I need to look at getting like a ramp, and I looked on Amazon. They only run a couple $100 compared to the scooter was like, you know, $1,500. That was not something that there was any way we could reasonably afford, which is why we did the crowdfunding. But I think if we save our money and work towards it, eventually I can buy a little ramp for a couple $100 that I can carry in my car that I can unload so that I can push it up into the back of the car and pull it out, and then I'll have total freedom to go wherever I want on my own. It would be nice if we had like really consistent bus activity. where I live, because then I wouldn't even have to worry about that. I could just take it up and down a wheelchair lift, but unfortunately the buses here are just not very frequent and not very consistent, so that's not an option. But I'm super excited because it opens up a world of things that I feel like I can go do now that I could not do before. So that has been amazing. If you donated to that, I just cannot thank you enough with like the happiness that it has brought me to be able to move under my own power again, even if it's wheels and not legs. It's been great. So yeah, I'll put some video in of that. That's probably the biggest thing that has happened in my life. I did go get my third COVID vaccine because I'm immunocompromised. They did want me to get a third, like a booster, in order to bring myself up to where everybody else is. So we got that, and I did get sick for a day or two, but it's still worth it to me. And I got my hair cut finally, because it was getting really shaggy and long, and I can't stand that. But I also like can't bring myself to go make a haircut appointment or spend $40 on a haircut. Like, just like the whole process is just like, I'd just rather not. It's not that they're not great or that they don't earn their money well, because they do. It's just like some days you just don't have the spoons to go get your haircut, and for me that's like 99% of the days. So when I'm like, I want to go get my haircut, it's like, I really hope they have an opening that day, because if they don't, I'll probably put it off for another 2 or 3 weeks. I think that rounds it up for just stuff around the house about me, all that jazz. So on to fanfic recommendations. I am going to recommend another Witcher story. I've been watching Carnival Row on Amazon Prime. I'm almost finished with it, and I'm like, oh, this show is amazing. And it's got like fantastical elements of like fae and like human elements of like war and discord. And so I really was like, oh, there will be some great fanfic from this. I'm sure there's lots of people who are really into it. I'm gonna go find some fanfic from that to recommend. And I went, and there were like almost no stories. I was very surprised. Fandom is weird that way. Like, I was like, this is gonna be ripe. This is gonna be like Sherlock, or I don't know, Ace Attorney, or like all these other like big fandoms, and nope, not even, I don't even think there was 100 stories. So instead, we're going back to Witcher. I am going to recommend Hold Me Tight and Fear Me Not by Lemming Dancer. This is a 4-chapter, 10,000-ish word fic. It's completed now, and it is, so I'm just checking it here. Yeah, it's Eskel and Geralt. It is rated T though, so it's not like a raunchy, smutty fic. It's more like you're here for the story fic. And it is based on the legend / song of Tam Lin and a little bit Beauty and the Beast. So if you don't know what Tam Lin is, I highly recommend you do a quick Google and listen to the song. It's called Tam Lin's Song 39, I think, or 38. And let me see if they say, oh, Tam Lin Child 39. I don't know why I want to call it Song 39. But it is, Izzy, quit licking your feet. Tam Lin is a ballad about like the fae, the queen of the fairies, all of that whole realm and its interaction with the human world. So I like I said, I highly recommend you just go look up the myth and listen to the song Tam Lin Child 39. and that will give you like a good fix. It's like a good Scottish Gaelic song and a good Scottish Gaelic fairy tale. Like fairy tale, not so much like fairy tale, unless you want to talk about like Grimm's fairy tales and the original fairy tales and how they weren't all like super cute and Cinderella-y. It's like the old style fairy tales. So that is the fic that I would recommend. Totally worth the read. Just a fluffy, enjoyable, I don't know if I'd call it fluffy, just an enjoyable light read. There's not too much smut, not too much drama or angst, but just plot, just good plot. So that's what I've got for you. Again, if you stayed this long with me, thank you for hanging around till the end. And I hope that you will drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're working on right now. Have you started a sweater for winter? Because I have, and I want to start another one already. Do you knit 2 sweaters at the same time? Or is it just me that wants to do that? Let me know. I will see you in 2 weeks.